It was a crisp October morning in Willowbrook, a quiet suburban town where nothing ever seemed out of the ordinary. The day was unfolding like any other when an elderly man, out for his daily walk with his dog, made an unexpected discovery that would forever change the community. As he wandered along a remote stretch of highway, the man noticed a large, oddly shaped object lying off the road. His curiosity piqued. He stepped closer. It was a duffel bag, tossed carelessly in the underbrush. Something didn't sit right with him. He noted how heavy the bag seemed, and his instincts screamed that this wasn't a simple case of discarded belongings. Nervously, he called the local authorities. Within minutes, police arrived on the scene, ready to investigate. As they unzipped the bag, what they found inside sent chills through their bones. A body. A young woman, lifeless and unrecognizable at first glance. The news spread quickly throughout Willowbrook, a town where residents knew each other's names, and the sight of a murder was unfathomable. The victim was soon identified as Carla Brown, a 21-year-old college student with a bright future, daughter of Greg Brown, a successful entrepreneur, and Linda Brown, a respected member of the community. Carla's murder sent shockwaves through the town, but as the investigation unfolded, the police were to uncover a disturbing truth. This wasn't a random act of violence. This murder was the result of a long-buried secret within the Brown family, one so dark that no one could have ever imagined it. From the outside, the Brown family appeared to lead a life that others envied. Greg, a self-made entrepreneur in his early 50s, had built his tech company from the ground up, and his wife, Linda, supported him through the years. Linda, though a woman of few words, was the quiet backbone of their home. Together, they seemed like the epitome of success. Their children, however, were where things started to unravel beneath the polished surface. Greg had a daughter, Carla, from his first marriage. Carla was a brilliant and ambitious young woman who had just begun her journey at university. She had an easy charm and a natural ability to connect with people. Her world was one of creativity and possibility. She wanted to become a journalist and make a name for herself. Then there was Ethan, Linda's son from her previous marriage. At 24, Ethan still lived at home with his father and stepmother, struggling to find his place in the world. Despite the wealth and opportunity surrounding him, Ethan had never quite found his stride. His parents had hoped he would take over a leadership role in the family business, but his interest in the company was lukewarm at best. He was introverted, more comfortable in the quiet of his bedroom or in the garage with his car than in the spotlight his family often basked in. On the surface, the Browns had it all: wealth, success, and a seemingly perfect family dynamic. Yet the truth was far more complicated, and as time would reveal, some relationships within the family were far from harmonious. Though Carla and Ethan had grown up under the same roof, their relationship was always strained. They were step-siblings, but the distance between them felt more significant than that of mere family. Carla was outgoing, popular, and constantly surrounded by friends. Ethan, on the other hand, was shy, withdrawn, and kept mostly to himself. Their differences were clear from a young age, and over time, they settled into a pattern of polite indifference. But as the years passed, something in their relationship began to shift. Ethan found himself drawn to Carla in a way he didn't understand. At first, it was subtle, a lingering glance or a quiet moment alone. They started talking more often, and as they did, Ethan found himself becoming more and more infatuated with her. It wasn't just admiration, it was obsession. He found himself thinking about Carla constantly, wondering if she might feel the same way about him. Carla, however, was uncomfortable with Ethan's increasing attention. She tried to push the thoughts away, telling herself that he was just being friendly. But the unease never fully left. Deep down, she knew something was wrong, but she didn't have the courage to confront him. As the months passed, The tension between them grew, and a once innocent connection began to feel like something darker. October 11th, 2015 was supposed to be just another quiet evening in the Brown household. Greg and Linda were away for the weekend, leaving Ethan and Carla alone in the house. What began as a typical night soon turned into something that neither of them would ever forget. Carla, wanting to avoid the awkwardness she felt around Ethan, retreated to the living room to watch a movie. Ethan, sensing an opportunity to get closer, asked if he could join her. The two settled into the couch, their conversation initially light-hearted and casual. But as the night wore on, something shifted. Ethan opened up about his frustrations with life, his lack of direction, and the overwhelming pressure he felt from his parents. Carla, feeling sympathetic, shared her own feelings of being misunderstood, particularly when it came to her parents' expectations for her future. As they talked, they began to lean closer, each seeking solace in the other. In a moment of vulnerability, their hands brushed. The simple touch sent a shock through both of them. Ethan's feelings were stronger than ever, and without thinking, he leaned in and kissed her. Carla froze, unable to process what was happening. At first, it was just a soft kiss, but the intensity of it quickly escalated. Both of them felt trapped in the moment, unable to stop, caught between their conflicting emotions. When they finally pulled away, the realization of what they had just done hit them. Carla felt a mix of confusion and guilt, her mind racing as she tried to make sense of it. Ethan, however, didn't seem to share the same sense of remorse. Instead, he wanted more. He began to press for another kiss, but Carla pulled away. She didn't know how to navigate the situation, and she certainly didn't know how to handle the growing discomfort she felt in Ethan's presence. The next morning, the uneasy silence between Ethan and Carla was palpable. Carla couldn't look at him without feeling disgusted by what had happened the night before. She tried to avoid him, retreating to her room as much as possible, but Ethan wasn't ready to let go. He believed that what they shared wasn't just a mistake, it was something real, something he wanted to hold on to. After a tense breakfast, Carla could no longer keep the turmoil inside. She confronted Ethan, demanding that they talk about what had happened. She explained that she couldn't do this, that they couldn't go down this path. Ethan, however, wasn't ready to accept that. He felt betrayed by her rejection and angry at himself for allowing things to get out of hand. What started as a gentle plea for her to understand soon turned into an argument. Ethan, in a fit of rage, grabbed her arm and tried to force her to listen. Carla, terrified, tried to pull away and run. In the chaos that followed, Ethan lost control. In a moment of blind anger, he pushed Carla. She stumbled, falling down the stairs, her head hitting the banister with a sickening thud. The sound of her body crashing to the floor echoed through the house. Panic surged through Ethan's veins as he rushed to her side. But it was too late. Carla was unconscious, her life slipping away. He froze, his mind racing. He never meant to hurt her. This had gone too far, and he couldn't undo what had just happened. In a desperate attempt to hide his crime, Ethan grabbed a duffel bag from the garage, stuffed Carla's body inside, and drove it to a remote stretch of highway on the outskirts of town. He left the bag there, convinced that he could make everything disappear, that he could erase his mistake. When Carla's body was discovered, the police quickly launched an investigation. Detective Sarah Miller, a seasoned investigator, was assigned to the case. At first, Greg and Linda were devastated by the news of Carla's death. They couldn't believe that their beloved daughter, someone they'd poured their hearts into, had been murdered. But as Detective Miller began to ask questions, she noticed something strange. Ethan's behavior didn't seem right. While Greg and Linda were visibly distraught, Ethan remained unnervingly calm. He answered questions vaguely and seemed disinterested in discussing his sister's death. His responses were evasive, and Detective Miller's instincts told her that something was off. As she dug deeper, Detective Miller discovered that Ethan had been alone with Carla the night before. No one had been able to confirm his whereabouts during the critical hours when Carla was murdered, but the biggest red flag came when a neighbor reported seeing a car parked near the spot where Carla's body had been dumped late on the night of October 11th. The car, described as matching the Browns' family vehicle, had been parked there for some time. The breakthrough came when the police obtained a search warrant for the Brown home. They combed through Ethan's room, searching for anything that might provide evidence. It didn't take long to find it. Hidden beneath the floorboards were several key items: blood-stained clothing, a duffel bag identical to the one used to dispose of Carla's body, and a journal. In it, Ethan had written about his growing obsession with Carla, about his jealousy, guilt, and confusion over his feelings for her. His words painted a chilling picture of his descent into madness. Confronted with the evidence, Ethan finally broke down. His confession was a mixture of guilt and confusion. He never intended to kill Carla. He had simply lost control. What started as a forbidden kiss had spiraled into an uncontrollable obsession. And when Carla rejected him, it pushed him over the edge. He never meant for it to end in violence, but once she was injured, panic set in. And in his panic, he made the fateful decision to hide her body, hoping that it would all disappear. The news of Ethan's confession shattered the Brown family. Greg and Linda, unable to comprehend the horror of what had happened, were left in a state of disbelief. Their son, the boy they had raised and loved, was now a murderer. As the trial began, the Browns were forced to face the unthinkable. How had their family become so fractured, so broken? Could they ever begin to heal from the devastation that had unfolded before them? Ethan was charged with second-degree murder, but for the Browns, the real punishment was the loss of their daughter and the destruction of the family they had once thought unbreakable. The story of Carla Brown's tragic death served as a haunting reminder of the complexities of family relationships. How far can love and obsession intertwine before they become destructive? And in the end, how do you rebuild a life torn apart by such unimaginable violence? The answers remain as elusive as the dark secrets that led to Carla's death.